Hi guys, so today we're going to be talking about support and adaptations that you can get at university. I recently discussed how I graduated with a first, and a few people wondered what support I had in place to do this. So I've had a think, and I thought this could be helpful because when you start university, if you do disclose that you have a disability, you will probably be assigned a disability advisor, and they will have a chat with you to just discuss everything that they can put in place to help you. So if you're just about to have that conversation, or if you're thinking of starting university, then you've got some things in your mind that you know that you can suggest and ask for. So just in me saying that, you'll realise that things at university are so different to school, and there is so much extra support here. The fact that you get a disability advisor, for one, is, it's worlds away from what school is like. And when I went to university, I felt like they really understood the fact that people with further to run need better shoes. And that's what this is about. It's not going to change your grade or make studying itself any easier. It's just going to tear down some of those barriers that other students don't have, and to give you a more level playing field. So I thought we'd start by talking about tests and exams, because a lot of people feel very worried about that. So the things that my disability put in place for me, the first one was extra time, and she said to me that I was allowed up to 50% extra time, but that I didn't have to take it if I didn't want to. And because of my issues with sitting up for long periods of time, I actually didn't take the 50%, and we agreed on 30%. So in my exams, I would have 30% extra time, and that allowed me to take breaks when I needed to. And she also gave me permission to take snacks in because with my nausea and stuff, sometimes having a few crackers can make me feel a lot better. So I had the extra time, which enabled me to take breaks and stuff, like I said, and to just go a bit slower if I needed to. I have a lot of hand pain and stuff, and so that was really helpful to me. And then having those snacks as well really helped my nausea. And then also for my hand pain and my subluxations of my thumb and finger joints, I was allowed the use of a laptop or a computer, and it made such a difference to me. I would really struggle to write even a few sentences by hand, but on a laptop I was just away and I was able to write everything I needed to write. And then the other things we had in place was a scribe, and this is a non-medical helper who is there to write up anything that I couldn't type. So if my hand pain got too bad, or if I felt too sick and all I could do was speak, then that scribe was there to write up for me. And they can do this for so many different problems. It doesn't have to be hand pain, it could be for a multitude of reasons. If there's a reason that makes it difficult for you to type, then they can arrange for you to have a scribe who will just be there, and you just sit and tell them what you want to say and they just type it up for you. And the last thing I had was a room of my own. And for me, the reason for this is that I have a history of fainting in exams. At school, I was fine for my GCSEs because I wasn't unwell at that point, but as soon as my POTS kicked in and I was having to sit up for those exams, I did start fainting. So I did faint in 2 of my A-level exams, and we discussed the possibility of that happening again at university, and they said, just don't worry about it, we can arrange for a separate room, or you can be in a room with fewer people if you prefer that. But I did choose to be by myself. So if you have something that's worrying you, so for example, if you're sick a lot, that was another thing. I was worried that I was going to be sick and disrupt the other students. For reasons like that, or even something like anxiety, or, any reason that you might need to be by yourself, they can usually accommodate that. I felt like I jumped into that one by telling you, in a really convoluted way. But the point I was trying to make was just that if you need your own room or to be in a room with fewer people, then they usually can accommodate for that, and it's okay to ask for that. And then in regards to my general studying and university life, I also had a few accommodations and support put in place for this too. So the first one was leniency with absences and arriving late. So before I started university, I knew that arriving late was something that I'd have to discuss, because it's very hard to get somewhere at a set time if you're dealing with fainting, vomiting and that sort of thing. Sometimes you just can't time it to be somewhere on time. And so I discussed that with my disability advisor, and all of my lecturers knew that I wasn't being rude and it wasn't in my control, and that I would just quietly slip into the classroom whenever I was able to. And so that's what I did. And then the absences as well. This was something my disability advisor suggested to me, because I was under the impression that at university it's your degree and that lecturers don't care if you go or not, because, you know, it's your education at the end of the day. They don't lose anything. But actually no, they do care. They do care if you're not there. And so it's good for your lecturers to be aware, because otherwise you will get pulled up on things like absences and attendance. So if you've got a condition that's going to limit how much you can attend, it is good for them to know about that. Another thing that's really helpful and will probably be available to all students is that lectures will be recorded, and that means that you can access them from home and watch them from bed. So when I said my course only had 4 contact hours, it technically did have 8, which included 4 seminars, which you have to be there in person for, and 4 lectures, which you can either attend or watch online. And they do really push you to be there and attend as much as you can. But in a case like this, where you've got a disability, I found them really helpful to watch from home. I didn't feel like I missed out on anything there. They would say to us a lot of the time, you're not going to learn the course as well if you just watch the lectures from home. But that wasn't my experience. And if you think about it, I never really understood what you're actually missing, because all of the content is there. You're listening and paying attention. I think you should be absolutely fine. I do wonder if it would be worth asking for things like seminars to be recorded, things that aren't typically recorded. It might be worth just asking, because some might say yes. And even if 4 lecturers say no and 1 says yes, then at least you've got that one class that has just taken the pressure off a little bit. Now, in terms of... my throat is really hurting. I have this, I describe it as a muscular sore throat that I get, and it hasn't actually happened in my videos this badly before, but I'm going to try and press on. I was just going to talk a bit about disability equipment and software and things like that. I do have a separate video about disabled students allowance, which is funding you can get for support at university. So that will be in a card up here somewhere. So some things that you can get through disabled students allowance are book holders. They can both be a stand, which is like a long pole, and then it holds your book open at varying heights and you can adjust it. Or alternatively, you can get small little book holding things, small book stands that you put on a desk or on a lap tray. The type of one you can get does vary by university, but if you need something like that, it will probably be offered to you. You can also get voice to text software, and I think also a software that can read your books for you. I'm not certain about that, but definitely if it would be easier for you to dictate your notes and everything like that, you can get voice to text software. Another thing I got was a recording thing. So in my seminars that weren't recorded, I could go and just hit record and it would record the whole thing so that I could come back to it at a later date. And it just meant that if I was well enough to attend but not well enough to make notes, I could do that, because I could sit, go and record it myself, then come home, and when I was better, make notes from it. And then they can also supply things like ergonomic chairs, so that if you do want to study from a desk, you can be as comfortable as you possibly can be. I chose not to accept this. It was offered to me, but actually I said I'm just going to be studying from bed, and so I really don't need it, and I didn't feel it was necessary to take something I wasn't going to use. But if you do like to study from a desk, then the ergonomic chair would be really helpful. Another thing you can get help with is extensions for deadlines. you will find that there are times when everything piles up and your chronic illnesses won't take a break when you need them to. In fact, they often flare up in times of stress, as I'm sure you'll know. And so it's perfectly reasonable to request extensions if you think that's going to help. Again, this is something that I didn't take advantage of, but in retrospect, I probably should have. Another thing you can get through the Disabled Students Allowance is taxis to and from university. So especially in your second and third year where you may be living off campus, then taxis can really help you out, as you don't have to get buses or walk. They can literally pick you up from your door and drop you home. I'm not sure about the catchment area, because I'd imagine they would only supply that for a certain distance. But if you've got a short commute from home to university, say if you're not living on campus, I think they can accommodate that. But in my later years, I was a couple of miles off campus and there was just no way for me to get the bus by myself. And so I had taxis arranged for me, and that really helped. Then another thing you can get is a non-medical helper. And these can be things like a scribe, which is what I discussed earlier, that person that sits and writes up your exams for you or your notes for you. You can get note takers who sit with you and write your notes. And they can also assist with things like packing and unpacking your textbooks and your laptop and that sort of thing. Any non-medical university task, basically, they can help with. They're just someone that, again, is there to do those physical tasks that you might not be able to do. And lastly, you can get help with library assistance. So this can be with finding books, because libraries are really big and hopefully they will be accessible. But for example, if you have really low energy levels, or if you're just struggling on a particular day, they can arrange for a library support who can help you get books, so you don't have to trek round the whole place. I know that sometimes I would need books and they would be in 4 completely different sections of the library, and it would be quite a big task to go and get them. So having a library support would really help, because you could just go and sit by the help desk, tell them what you need, and they will go off and get it for you. And the last thing I got in regards to that was extensions with library book deadlines. So again, it's that timing thing. If you're really sick and really unwell, it can be really hard to get down to the library to return a book. And so it may be worth asking if you can get a library extension. I think that's everything I can think of for now, so I hope that helped. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!